one of the biggest fights ever to make right now, it's going to be Canelo versus Terence Crawford. And it would be the biggest fight ever, and I think Terence Crawford matches up so good with Canelo. I don't know who wins that fight. It's a 50-50 fight down the middle. The way I saw Crawford against Errol, and I've been watching Canelo for a long time, and I'm like, bro, I would just love to see that matchup. And I don't know why people aren't talking about it. I haven't seen nothing on the internet. I understand they're different weight classes, but dude, that fight's like the fight of the century. The fight of the century. It would be the best fight ever. Welcome to the False 9 podcast, episode 151. Guys, you won't believe it. I forgot to press record on the audio thing. So I'm doing this again for like the first 8 minutes. Just kind of embarrassing. Doing this a little, we're going on 3 years, bro. Like, I can't be making these mistakes. Anyways, guys, welcome to the show. If you're new to the channel, what's up? Subscribe, share, follow. Subscribe. Yeah, subscribe. Don't like it just yet. I want you to watch the episode, but subscribe because, we want to get the low subs. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, it would just mean a lot if you just watch the video. So if you're new, hi. If you're, coming back, what's up? Hope you're doing good. And I want to apologize maybe for the lack of enthusiastic, exciting content. I feel like the content hasn't been the best. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Right now, we got the curtain up. Like, this is set up a good way. We got the neon light back up. We got the sign back up. And I made a decision, it's just going to be me. I didn't know how I wanted to do it. I was going to have my girlfriend help me out. I was going to start having people on again. And I was finding excuses why the content was bad, right? And I was blaming I was moving. I don't have a guest. I don't have anyone else to talk to, right? And it is difficult making these episodes just me by myself, but it's easier making clips. It's easier editing. It's just easier when it's after and before, right? You only work with one camera and one source of audio, so it's just a lot easier. But I started making up excuses. I was like, oh yeah, I asked my girlfriend to help me out for this episode, and I was like, I told her, I was like, I want to start having people on, things like that. And I had a run the other day, and I want to say it was Jocko that I was listening to, and I just came to the realization that I need to figure this out on my own. And not that there's nothing wrong with having guests, but the reason why I wanted to have them and have someone else, like my girlfriend, was because because I thought it was going to be easier. That's it. And I was like, you don't want to do it by yourself no more because you're saying it's hard. And I was making these excuses. So I told myself, I was like, man, I need to stop being that way. I need to figure this out. I need to make good content with just me, make good clips with just me, everything, make it great. So whenever I think I'm ready, then I'll start having guests. So that's how the plan's going to be. It's just going to be me. Sorry about that. Probably just for about a month, or we'll see how things go. You never know what can happen in the next few weeks, in the next few episodes, and the next few clips. You never know. So let's get to it. We had in my opinion, one of the best weekends in a long time, And the reason why I say that is because, it's I'm never going to forget this weekend because it's the first weekend that I had 2 TVs going on at once. And that's probably why one of them broke. But just kidding. Oh, well, not really, but not the reason why. But anyways, I had one TV on the left, one TV on the right, or, however you want to say it. And I had UFC on one, and I had boxing on one, and whatever fight was going on, which I was the most interested at the time, I had it on the bigger TV, right? And, man, I was just like, this is badass, that you want to watch 2 events at the same time. Like, you just don't want to lose no moment at either one. You just want to stay locked in and just want to know what's going on. And that's cool, and I know nights like that are not going to happen because of, you want to get both boxing and UFC the views that they want, and they want to meet their numbers. So this was probably just like a coincidence. Who knows when something like that ever happens again, but when it does, I'm excited. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did because it was fun. I don't know how many people won money, lost money, all that stuff, but let's get to it, man. Let's talk about boxing first. I want to talk about Pitbull Cruz and his performance. And The fight itself, it was a little, not that it was boring, but it wasn't as exciting. I started watching the fight on the big TV, and then Tony Ferguson was fighting, so I wanted to watch Tony first because that fight just I was like, oh, this guy Giovanni's about to get knocked out. He's about to lose, or they're going to stop the fight, because Pitbull was just beating him up. So, throughout the fight, we see Pitbull start to get frustrated, started getting sloppy. And the only reason why I bring that up and the only reason why I even care is because prior to the fight, Pitbull Cruz was calling out Gervonta Davis. Pitbull Cruz was saying, I'm going to put out this performance, the performance that's going to give me my rematch back with Gervonta and, X, Y, and Z. And after that performance, you look at it and you're like, does he deserve a rematch? Is Gervonta Davis really going to take that fight? And as fans, after seeing that performance, there's nothing exciting that he did that makes you want to see the fight against Gervonta Davis. As much as I'm a fan of Pitbull Cruz, but he didn't do enough, I think, for him to get the rematch. And I know he's going to keep talking about it and pushing for it, but I think he knows. I think he knows that he didn't do enough to get that rematch, and everybody as the fans know too. I see it in my comments, people shitting on Pitbull. So, and the reason why I say that, and I don't know if my Mexican people are going to be upset, but people are going to be upset by that comment. But you look at the list that Gervonta Davis can fight. He could fight Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Shakir, and I don't know if I'm missing another name or not. But, that's like 4 guys already that he can fight at the top level. And it's just like, and then you got Pitbull, and where does Pitbull fall in that list? I was like, in my opinion, he's like one of the last ones on that list, if not the last one. And I don't know. I don't think he deserves a rematch, but we'll see what happens. I know. One thing I rather after that fight I'd rather see Ryan Garcia and Pitbull Cruz. Ryan Garcia was calling him out on Twitter, like, bring it on, so and so. And Pitbull Cruz, that's the fight. That's his statement fight. That fight gets him the rematch against Gervonta Davis, to be honest with you. If he manages and finds a way to beat Ryan Garcia, then he can get his rematch with, Gervonta. And it's going to be real tricky because his Giovanni guy was tall and long. Ryan Garcia is tall and long and a better fighter. So, that's honestly a real test for Pitbull. So, we'll see. We'll see how he can manage. And I hope they make that fight happen, And I'm not going to say who wins. I'll give my predictions if that fight ever does happen. So we have the main event. The main event was Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. And honestly, I did not expect the fight to go the way it did. And I don't think a lot of people did, in my opinion. And the only reason why I say that, and I know a lot of people y'all going to be like, oh, da, 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 da. But guys, in the second round, nobody had Terence Crawford getting a knocked down that early. People going to be like, oh, well, that's so early. So you got to understand, anybody can bet anything. Anybody. And nobody had that bet. And they checked it. They said it on pay-per-view. So that makes me think nobody thought that fight was going to be as one-sided as it was. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that thought that Terence Crawford was going to win and was going to get the KO and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think they knew from the second round all the way till it ended, it was just going to be pure dominance, And I want to start off by just also, not start off, but also saying Terence Crawford walked out with Eminem. Eminem looked cool. Crawford looked cool as fuck with his fishing net, his shoes. He got fish now on his shoes. He said it was fishing season. And that boy caught a big fish and a big payday that day. For real. And after he walked out, looking at him, I was like, bro, he looked so cool walking out. He looked so calm and just ready to go to war, right? And he did. He was more than ready, and shout out to their whole team for that. Now, I do want to say, Errol Spence walked out and he looked high. He looked like he was out of it. He was just it was weird. I don't know if he walks out and he looks like that. I know in his other fights, I've seen him, walk out and get ready for fights. And he looks like he's kind of stoned. But on this fight, he looks like he was out of it. And I wonder if he was. And it makes me wonder, and I hate that I'm going to say this, but it makes me wonder. I was like, did he get that stone, knowing that he was not going to do good, or knowing that he was just not as good? I don't know, right? Or did he throw away? I don't know. But it's just why did he look like that? And I know I'm not the only one who thinks that way. But I hope he wasn't stoned, but we all know what we look like when we're stoned. And that's exactly what, whatever. So, I mean, the fight goes on. Terence Crawford puts out probably, I don't know. I think Terence Crawford put out the best performance of his life that night. Because, like I said, from round 2, it was just dominant. And he showed a little bit at the end of the round 1. I was like, oh, snap. And we put it on the big TV and everything. And we watched the fight, and I was just blown away. One thing I do want to, another thing I want to say about Terence Crawford, the fact that he knocks down Terence Crawford, and I don't know if he's talking to Charmelo or Jarmelo, but he's talking to one of the brothers, just talking shit to him while he's beating up Errol Spence. That has to be one of the savagest things I've ever seen. The fact that he was just doing that, and he's like, bro, you're next. And I'm like, I would not want to fight Terence Crawford, like dead ass. So savage, and kudos to him. And they're going to end up, we're going to see Errol Spence get his rematch. Errol Spence is going to get his rematch. And who knows at what weight class, whether it's at 147 or 154. When Errol Spence is not making up any excuses or anything like that, he's taking the L like a champ. I see a lot of people trolling him. Kind of sucks, he got beat up, but, he showed that he was willing to fight the whole fight, and he was upset about the stoppage, and some fighters would just be very happy about that, but he wanted to keep fighting. So, will we see the rematch? Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence 2. How would that fight look like? Would it be the same? Well, would it affect any differently because of the weight cut? I'll be honest, Errol Spence, I don't think he can perform as bad as he did anymore. I think that was probably one of his worst performances, and I know that Terence Crawford was all over him, but you can't get worse than that, right? So I think Errol Spence bounces back, cleans up the mistakes, and he puts out a better fight, and hopefully we really see the real Errol Spence that we know. Now for Terence Crawford, I think he can go in there and do the same thing again at 154. If anything, scarier because he'll have more power. I don't know, right? Now, I'm going to say something crazy. One of the biggest fights ever to make right now, it's going to be Canelo versus Terence Crawford. I think that fight would break the internet. It would break the world, and it would be a crazy fucking fight. And they can fight at like 155, 157. I think they can find a place in the middle where to fight. And it would be the biggest fight ever, And I think Terence Crawford matches up so good with Canelo. I don't know who wins that fight. It's a 50-50 fight down the middle. The way I saw Crawford against Errol, and I've been watching Canelo for a long time. And I'm like, bro, I would just love to see that matchup. And I don't know why people aren't talking about it. I haven't seen nothing on the internet. I understand they're different weight classes, but dude, that fight's like the fight of the century. The fight of the century. It would be the best fight ever, in my opinion. So just putting that out there. So let's move over to UFC. So UFC, I just wanted to talk about, I really just want to talk about 2 fights, to be honest with you. I want to talk about Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz, or Blachowicz, however you pronounce his name. Did Jan Blachowicz, let me say his name right. Did Jan Blachowicz get robbed on Saturday? A lot of people are saying that Jan Blachowicz got robbed on Saturday, and I disagree, and I knew a lot of people were going to be like, oh, you like Alex Pereira? And I do. I'm a big Alex Pereira fan. But the only reason why I don't think Jan won was, and I know I shouldn't bring this up, but the last fight that Jan had, it was a split. It was a tie. They drew it. And he lost that fight. He lost that fight against that Russian dude. And that Russian dude right now should be the champion at lightweight. And that's that. And I know it was Jamal, now it's vacant, whatever. But he lost his last fight and they gave him a draw, And then for people to be like, oh, he got robbed. And I hate, it's kind of a taste of his own medicine, because he took away a win from somebody else. Now, Alex Pereira comes in there and gets the win. A sloppy win, but he got the win. I think Alex Pereira won the second and third round. And the thing is that Jan came in the first round and just tried to take it to the ground. That was his game plan. He wasn't trying to box with him. And I know the second round they were up, standing up, but look what happened. Alex Pereira almost took him out in the second round, and he put him in so much danger. Third round, it was kind of leaning towards that way. And then at the end, Jan gets a takedown and gets a control time. And bro, I hate control time because these Russian people, that's all they do. They try and get the control time and get a few jabs and a few hits. And they're like little pillows. I understand if the dude's like ground and pounding, give it to him. But if you're just holding on to him, like Islam Makhachev does, holding for dear life, like Khabib does, bro, why are you going to give them the points? Why are you going to give them the rounds? I don't see it. And I hate that shit. I'm happy that Alex Pereira got the win because I'm like, for me, it's just like, all right, just because you go to the ground doesn't mean you're going to get the win. And a lot of fighters think that way. And that shit's mad annoying. And I know a lot of people be like, oh, you just want to see some action. And I'm like, or you just want to see them like stand up and scrap. And it's like, no, like I love seeing them on the ground and like scrambling. But dude, don't just be hugging for dear life. And that's it. Like, you know? So yeah, I'm happy Alex Pereira got the win. Well-deserved, sloppy win. The altitude definitely got those big boys drained, in my opinion, you know? So that's that. Then we had the main, or I'll say this. I won't jump into the main event just yet. We got Derrick Lewis got a win. Dude, he's so likable and we all love him. Like as UFC fans, we all like Derrick Lewis, and he was on a losing streak, 3 losses or 4 losses, but he was losing. And to come up there with the flying knee, that boy looked sharp. And he put the guy out. And, you know, he took off his shorts, and we all know why he took off his shorts. And then it was just awesome to see him win. And this was his last fight, UFC contract. And, you know, we would love to see him back in the UFC. But, man, he's a free agent. And we all know who's waiting for a fight and who needs to fight in MMA. And that's Francis Ngannou. So it would make me happy that he does like a 1-fight deal. You know, Derrick Lewis gets his 1-fight deal, fights Francis Ngannou, makes a few mil, and if he wins, run it back with Francis. And if he loses, come back to the UFC, get you another contract, and hopefully Dana White takes you back with no issues. So yeah, but you know, good for Derrick Lewis, good for him. The main event of the evening, we had Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. Nobody thought that fight was going to go the way it did. You know, let me see. Let me just make sure I don't miss nothing. All right. So, yeah. I mean, the fight was close the first round. It was real close. I had Dustin Poirier since the start. To me, he's more collective. He's more, you know, composed, great boxing, very technical. Justin Gaethje, great boxer. You know, he can eat punches, but he gets sloppy and he's a little wild boy. And that's what makes him so, like, attractive, like, to watch him fight, is that he's a wild boy and he's a savage. Now, we all know, Dustin Poirier gets knocked out. You know, a head kick to the face, lights out, baby. Like, that's it. And I think it was so funny how Justin Gaethje reacted to that in the post-fight. And he kind of just threw it just to see what happened. And that fucking leg wrapped around, or went behind the arm and just got Dustin right in the spot in the head. And he just goes lights out. And I don't know when was the last time, you know, Dustin Poirier got knocked out like that. So it was a big statement for Justin Gaethje. You know, when I said this on the last episode, you know, depending if Dustin Poirier wins, if Justin Gaethje wins, you know, whoever the winner is, they're runner-ups, you know, for gold. Like they are, as much as like this is for the third time, I think, they're going to be runner-ups for gold. You know, I think Justin Gaethje gets the winner of Charles or Islam, like no question. And, you know, for Dustin Poirier, I don't know what kind of fights he can do now. I think he's going to just try and look for money fights, exciting fights, things like that. It's kind of sad, you know, because this is probably the start of the end of his career. And I think he wants to go out in a good fashion. You know, we saw Tony Ferguson, you know, he's on a losing streak. And we don't want to see, you know, Dustin Poirier go out that way. So we'll see. But I mean, I think Justin Gaethje, he's gonna wait for Islam or Charles Oliveira. And I'm gonna tell you guys one thing. You know, if he fights Islam or if he fights Charles Oliveira, he has a great chance of beating both of them. You know, I think he's still gonna be the underdog. But whether it's Islam or Charles, like, he's gonna do as good. I think this fight gave him so much confidence to go out there, and he believes now that he can really compete with these guys, right? Because not getting the belt, right, falling short, and then you're not beating Dustin Poirier, I'm sure that has to give you a lack of confidence. So to come in there and just get a KO that way, it has to give you confidence. So whoever he fights next is gonna be a tough ass fight. That's all I gotta say. So. Yeah, you know, and we have Islam and Charles in Abu Dhabi. So I haven't spoke about that at all. I don't want to speak too much because I don't want to rile people up and get the views up, and then when the time comes, not get the views. But the next thing I want to talk about that was announced a few weeks ago was UFC 5. So UFC 5 got announced. It's super exciting because I like playing UFC 4. It's a little outdated just because of new gen consoles and everything like that. But the question is, you know, my question is, like, who should be on the cover of UFC 5? You know, we have big stars like Charles Oliveira, Sugar Sean O'Malley, Usman. We have, I'm trying to go through like weight class. We got Brandon Moreno. We got Volkanovski. We got Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. I already said Charles. Islam, Khabib, John Jones. I mean, yeah, I think that's really it. And I'm gonna give my opinion. I think Volkanovski should be on the cover of UFC 5. There's no one else that I can think of that stands out, and it's just like an automatic boom, him, right? You know, and Volkanovski's that guy. He's been the champion for a while. You know, he's shown to us that he's GOAT level, like worthy, and he's just so likable. So, and I think it would be a dope ass cover if he was on there. And my second choice, I would have to say Charles Oliveira. Honestly, I think Charles Oliveira is second choice because how many people love him. And if he manages to beat Islam, hey, well-deserved to be on the cover. And I saw some goofy comments that Islam Makhachev should be on the cover of UFC 5. And I'm telling you guys right now, he shouldn't. You know, this man, Islam Makhachev, I'm going to transition to this. And I'm going to talk a little bad about your boy. You know, because I seen some comments when he was calling out Leon Edwards and trying to move up a little bit. And it annoys me that Islam Makhachev is calling out Leon Edwards and this and that. And I'm like, bro, why are you trying to fight other people? You fought a guy at 145. You know, you've only fought once at 155, and that was for the belt. Now you want to go up and fight at 165. I don't get it. Or 160, whatever the weight class is. But why are you calling out Leon Edwards? I don't fucking get it, you know? It's like, why don't you defend your belt against, you know, obviously, you already beat Charles. You're about to fight him again. Why can't you fight Benil? Why can't you fight Dustin? Why can't you fight Justin? You know? Why can't you fight those guys first? Show that you're the dominant man in the division. Then start calling out people. I understand people are like, oh, well, Charles beat all those people, right? It doesn't work that way, man. Every fight's different. Every camp's different. Islam has to go through that camp, go through those fights, beat those guys, and then he's going to be the man at 155. Because I'm going to tell you guys right now, Islam Makhachev is not the man at 155 right now. If anything, it's Volkanovski. And I'm just being real. And I've said this many, many, many times. And I still get shitty comments. But I don't care, bro. Islam Makhachev, again, has not fought anybody but Charles Oliveira. And I'm going to keep saying that. And I'm going to keep saying that. And if he wins again, I'm going to still keep saying that. And, I mean, once he fights Justin, once he fights Dustin, once he fights Benil, and whoever fuck is upcoming, that's when I'm going to give him his respect. But the fact that he wants to jump around at 145, 155, 165, and all he wants to do is, like, set this. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to, like, set this, like, crazy elite status. And the only way he's, like, it's even given to him, the opportunity is even given to him, is because he could be. He has so much leverage with Dana. But that shit's about to end. I'm not going to say why. But we know what fight's coming for him, and it's not going to go his way. Peace.